Well, hello everybody out there in the land. This is Chris from HLegacy.com with another exciting episode of Topher's Log. We have an actual Halloween Horror Nights 31 announcement to talk about today. A little bit of house cleaning first before we move on. People might notice that I have not been at the parks. Those who've been following me consistently the last month or so know that our household has been stricken with COVID, or was stricken with the COVID. My dad had it in early May, and then I got it from work a couple of weeks ago. And even though I was, over the quarantine, didn't have any symptoms, any of that stuff, I was one of those lucky bastards who consistently kept testing positive for the virus, even though, I was well past all that stuff. So my anxiety-riddled brain was just, you just kind of go to work, come home, don't do anything. And that's kind of how I've been living my life for the last couple of weeks. Today was the first day in like 4 weeks. I have not tested positive for this stupid virus. So little victories. So there we go. So I have not tested positive. So I should be returning to the parks hopefully very soon. I know there's a lot of stuff going on down there. And of course we're getting into Halloween Horror Nights construction season is quickly, that's proper English, quickly approaching. Usually towards the end of July, early August when we start seeing stuff coming out. It's June's almost over, guys. It's the 1st of July is next Friday, so June is almost over. So we are quickly approaching that milestone in this year as well. I made mention about Into the Fog. Into the Fog was I wanted to get up this week, but I'm catching up on stuff post-COVID, so I just haven't had the time to really work on it. This episode's a little bit different. It's not necessarily about a character or anything like that. It's more focused on an actual event. So it's a little bit, I've been having a little bit more difficulty trying to get some assets and stuff like that. So it's taking me a little bit longer to sort of get this episode in the can. But that should be up hopefully by next week. And of course today we had the announcement, so then that kind of derailed my entire editing schedule and process. But hopefully that should be up by next week. That's that out of the way. So let's talk about today's announcement. Today, Halloween Horror Nights 31 announced the Horrors of Blumhouse is coming back to the event. Now, I posted last night on my Twitter page that this year, even though I still get the little birdies that talk to me and stuff like that, I'm holding a lot of my information that I know close to the vest. I am not sharing it with anybody. I'm sort of keeping it to myself. I'm sort of staying out of that whole world this year because I don't want the sort of chaotic nature of what that brings. Much to the dismay of some people, some other insiders who usually come to me for information and stuff like that. I am not giving them that information, so they are a little bit frustrated on that. But it is what it is. That's how I'm going to roll this year. But that being said, when it comes to this specific announcement, the Horrors of Blumhouse, a couple months ago, I posted a GIF. I think it was back in February. I posted a GIF of that little kid who's looking with his eyes like this and going like that. That was in response to this house announcement, because I was very curious on as to how people were going to react to this, because it is the Horrors of Blumhouse. The Horrors of Blumhouse does not have a very good track record when it comes to their appearances at Halloween Horror Nights. Now, I don't think the Horrors of Blumhouse, in fact, I think both the first house was at the bottom of the list that year once everything was said and done, and the second one was kind of like one step up. so they weren't the best of houses. Now, I didn't outright hate the houses like I think some people did. I had some fun with them. In fact, the one that had Happy Death Day, I liked a little bit more, I think. Just because I like Happy Death Day. I think that's a great movie, and I think the sequel's even better. I think if you haven't seen Happy Death Day or Happy Death Day 2, or Happy Death Day 2U is the exact title, please give those a shot. I love those movies. I would have much rather have had an actual whole house with Happy Death Day. But that kind of ties into today's announcement, because the writer-director of Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You, Mr. Christopher Landon, is the same writer-director who brought us Freaky, one of the two properties that are being featured in the Horrors of Blumhouse, Freaky and the Black Phone. I love Freaky. I think Freaky is a great movie. I actually just rewatched it in preparation for the announcement. During my COVID quarantine. It's on HBO Max, at least it was at the time. So if you haven't seen it, it was on HBO Max. I don't know if it's still going to be there by the time this is all said and done, but that's why I rewatched it. I love the movie, and he kind of does the same thing with Freaky that he did with Happy Death Day. Happy Death Day is kind of like a horror version of Groundhog Day, the Bill Murray movie. Even though some of that movie is actually horror in and of itself, but it's just a straight up like kind of horror version of that premise. Freaky, of course, is a horror version of the Freaky Friday premise, but instead of a mother and daughter switching bodies, it is instead a sort of shy teenage girl switching bodies with a serial killer, played by Vince Vaughn, which is it's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of 80s horror tropes to it as well. It's a very fun movie that really takes that sort of twist on the premise, and runs with it. And it's a very enjoyable little film. I have not seen The Black Phone. Obviously, The Black Phone comes out tomorrow. I'm still kind of avoiding movie theaters. I saw way back when things started to get better the first time with COVID. I went and I saw Quiet Place Part 2. That was the first movie that I saw back in theaters. And then things started to get bad again, and then I didn't go to theaters for a while, and then when things started to get better again after that, I saw Ghostbusters Afterlife in theaters, and then things got worse. So I've been kind of avoiding the movie theaters for a while, so a lot of the stuff that I do watch these days is usually on streaming, so I'm going to have to wait for The Black Phone to come to a streaming service before I see it. So hopefully that's before Halloween Horror Nights. I would assume that it is going to be, because we have plenty of time before the event starts, so it wouldn't surprise me if The Black Phone comes onto streaming at some point before the event starts. So that would not surprise me. Plus, it's a smaller film, so who knows? And I've said before, Jason Blum is kind of a genius with the way that he does things, because he makes these sort of low budget movies that just they have like mass appeal, and then they explode. They make a lot of money. They make a shit ton of money, a lot of them. And then you get like franchises like, of course, The Purge. The Purge is just a huge franchise for Blumhouse. And then, of course, now they have the Halloween sequel, requel things that are going on. So I mean, they just know how to game the system in terms of their product. Of course, the announcement video here is the same, sort of following the same cinematic things. This is the cringy couple announcement video, which I find hilarious. I'm not sure which parking garage they filmed this at, because I have not been out to Universal Studios Hollywood, so I don't know what the parking garages look like out there. But when they're in the parking garage, you see the orange labels on the pillars there, but they don't have the Cat in the Hat symbol on there. And I'm wondering if maybe they shot it here in Orlando in the Cat in the Hat section of the garage, but they just painted out the Cat in the Hat on there so they didn't get into trouble. Which I find very interesting and funny. I love the artwork for this. Sort of the dual masks of the Black Phone and the Butcher, I think is the killer's name, if I remember correctly, in the Freaky movie. Sort of that little, the one's on the top, one's on the bottom, and then there's a side one. I love the logo for this. I think it's a great. It's interesting because it's a lot more put together than, say, the Horrors of Blumhouse houses that we've had in the past in terms of their artwork and stuff like that. It seems like they're putting a little bit more effort into this one, which is of course a good thing. No concrete information onto where this house is located, but I don't want to show my cards too much, but I would be willing to bet this is going to be in the new location, the Fast and the Furious location, which has me interested about the house as well, because I want to, as with all newer locations, I want to see what they do. I want to see, how they do the logistics of the location and stuff like that. As has been the case the last couple times, as of the filming of this video, I have not seen any of the preview merch go into the stores, but it would not surprise me if they show up by the time this video goes onto YouTube, because that's kind of how it's been going the last couple of announcements. During the filming, or when I do film, they're not up yet, or they're not in the store yet, and then they come out a little bit later. So yes, the Horrors of Blumhouse returns to Halloween Horror Nights for Halloween Horror Nights 31. I'm actually looking forward to this. Like I said, I'm a little surprised that the reaction to this hasn't been what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be just complete gloom and doom. I mean, you're going to have the sort of the diehards who are going to piss and moan about everything anyway. But I was expecting a lot more sort of backlash on this. But I think that's because the properties that are going into this version of the Horrors of Blumhouse are a little bit. Freaky. I think most people enjoy that film, and it does have a very good critical response. And The Black Phone, while not technically out yet. I think that is getting a huge critical, a very good critical response. And I think the response from the audience is also very good too. So I think there's a little bit of a different mentality going into this version of the Horrors of Blumhouse. Like I said, I like Freaky, whereas opposed to the last Blumhouse, Horrors of Blumhouse versions, the only property that I really enjoyed from any of those was Happy Death Day. I'm not an Insidious fan. I'm not a Purge guy. I'm not a Sinister guy. So like that, it was basically just Happy Death Day. But I'm intrigued to see the Black Phone, and I really like Freaky. So I am very much looking forward to this version of the Horrors of Blumhouse. And like I said, I like the artwork, and I think the video is funny too with the cringy couple. But it is what it is. So that's it. So we have another Halloween Horror Nights house announcement. I would expect another announcement probably sooner rather than later. I'm going to say within the next 2 weeks. That's going to be my prediction. So maybe post July 4th announcement. You never know. Could be one sooner rather than later. We still have not had any tickets, at least as the recording of this video, have not had any multi-day tickets go on sale for Universal Orlando, their version of Halloween Horror Nights, but Hollywood has released their frequent fair passes today. So I would assume that very shortly Orlando will release theirs as well. So still patience, but Hollywood releasing theirs is a good sign. So everybody can stop begging and breathe a sigh of relief. They're coming. So yeah, so that I think is going to do it for me today, guys. So like I said, bear with me a little bit. Like I said, today was the first day in like weeks that I have tested negative, finally. And it's a huge weight off my shoulders today because, like I said, these days with my sort of, my heightened anxieties and stuff like that, I was just trying to play it a little bit safer. Hope you guys understand. So I have not been at the parks. And like I said, I know there's a lot of stuff going on down there. I just didn't want to. I wanted to play it as safe as possible. So now with me finally testing negative, then I can finally get back down there. So that I think is going to do it for me today, guys. As usual, everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys next time.